Welcome to Enlightenment Space, place of consciousness and awareness. Rekasha nim veniatu ilana kacienom sai jin vasha to kande meroksha ila mhian to kian si venchan no klen vasai chini vena kushali ven lagana glenakla senakla nigeano katna shavine prikrand Vina sokyotu yesh naba. Venama tinalo klenakai nesha kachaide nikladube. Vana shatu klen vanakliana kayasa. Venakliana klaniano klajienik venom hakneshaveno klasha. Ira klchoro kanina iknetushran. Varsh alla tignocleno shutiven, vara kiano kesha, Ishna, Ishna, Vena. Throughout human existence, it's plagued with beliefs and concepts. Are they useful or not? Some are, some not. But an important realization is, are we immortal? What happens at the end of this shell? What happens in the meantime? A plaguing question to the intellect, often fearful, dreaded, or anxious. But as consciousness, embracing consciousness, it is an immortality. Not to say the body itself can share in that immortality, but not to write it off. For we don't know at this point just how far this physical flesh can stretch, because it is a stretch. But to believe, to allow, to come into knowing is the most important step to take. Whether we can see the physical evidence around us, who knows? As consciousness, we could be the very first to really achieve what humans have sought for ages, what humans have believed in for ages. So we say the immortality is already present as consciousness. Where we go from here remains the unknown. We have yet to see the next step that life will choose to take. We look around the world and the intellect says, oh, This is a sordid, fearful, anxious, angry place. Why would we want to remain in that place? But also, the power of consciousness, the power of awareness, is to live above those things. It's like hovering over things. Say, oh yes, that's what's apparently happening, but is it? How much of it is just belief in the way it is? When beliefs become knowing, we experience transformation. But as long as they remained in the realm of belief, they're just hopeful, wishful thinking, hoping. But to move our belief into knowing, to feel that truth of our core, of our existence, is the direction we take. Step by step, moment by moment, experience by experience. We experience multidimensionally all things. So we embrace the experiences of this life, but not to judge it, not to resist it, but to embrace it. To embrace all that you are becoming, is what the consciousness does within you as your true self. So we live in a duality. We have the physical self, and we have the consciousness self. Some would say the spiritual self, but that's a loaded word full of concepts. So we have the consciousness self, the self of consciousness. Not self-conscious, but self of consciousness. To be coming all that is possible moment by moment. The intellect says, Ishvara, that's a big step. Is it even possible? Well, why would I know and you know if it wasn't possible? You see, when we live in this knowing, we live in possibilities that are unfolding, very fruitful possibilities that lifts us beyond the boundaries and the limitations of even the flesh. Have yet to remain, to be seen. When I'm 100 years old, I may have more proof. But for the moment, I only have this knowing that the consciousness is immortality. And where we go from here is the great unknown. But yet, we go, we become, we transcend until a moment of arrival of our true self in awakening. Something shifted some 40 years ago where there was awakening that was transcendent of even feeling knowing, a clarity. And that clarity has remained intact. Even though the intellect at times thinks, oh, it's gone. It kind of tries to say, well, Ishvara has disappeared and left this physical thing in charge. No. It's ever remaining because it is in the cells. It is the cells. The body is the consciousness of the true self. It just needs to come into a reckoning place of knowing that of realizing that, of allowing that. So much of this existence is about allowing. Can you allow immortality? Can you embrace its possibility without a fantasy, but with a knowing that something important is taking place within this physical realm, in this physical body, in time? The answers reveal themselves in time. We know. In the meantime, we hold the highest possibility of immortality within the flesh itself because of the presence that is the consciousness. The cells themselves are the consciousness. And when we remove the blockade set up by the intellectual beliefs, concepts, and conditioning of the past, we experience a freedom of knowing that is transcendent of all that we've believed in the past. History is full of hope and possibility. But these possibilities, this hope, needs to be fulfilled through the presence of the Absolute, that consciousness, the I am isness of existence knows. Embrace that knowing. One lives a transcendent, transparent, free life in the world of enslavement and anger and fear. But we do not embrace that. We embrace the highest possibilities of this existence, even though the intellect may not be able to detect a path, a way, a possibility. We allow the consciousness of the cells to speak their piece, to speak the way, to show the way, to be the way. Consciousness is the way of immortality. If you don't believe that, wait and watch and see what happens as we mature. What happens for those that are embracing the consciousness? We don't know that yet. We have yet to see the outcome of this process, of this becoming. But it will be. It must be. Otherwise, there is nothing. Blank. And if one believes it's just blank, what's the point? We must move into feeling knowing of the highest possibility for human existence, in spite of the limitations around us that are constantly pulling at us, trying to mislead us into enslavement and darkness. Consciousness is light. Consciousness is presence. Consciousness is all. Sounds like making it into God. But what is God but consciousness? Just another word. A word that is limited with concepts and beliefs. So consciousness has no concepts or beliefs. It is simply the experiential unfolding of the highest possibility that the human can embrace in this moment. Embrace it. Embrace it and see what takes place. For you are a witness to a miracle of the consciousness itself. You witness that in yourself through allowing through this experience. And who knows where this will go as we progress, as we become, as we transcend, as we be in the wholeness of our true self, the consciousness. Allow it, embrace it, discover it, experience it, be open to it. The highest possibility awaits you in awakening to your true self, the consciousness itself. Be aware, embrace it. Love yourself moment by moment and see what happens with you. Moment by moment, it is unfolding and becoming.
Ishvara, I have recently experienced things about my body that prompt me to feel it's time to leave this physical frequency behind, and yet also I seem to be experiencing perhaps some transformational changes in the physical. So I don't know how to reconcile those two things.
There is a saying from the past, is to die daily to the body. So what does that mean? To die daily to the body is to let go of the body every moment. For we experience attachment to the physical. But the physical isn't it. The physical is simply the place where the consciousness abides. And so if we can untangle it from the concepts of mortality and physicalness, we don't know if we actually need the physical body. Don't say that too loud, you'll freak it out. But if it's too problematic, it is saying something. It's tired. It's tired of watching the world in chaos. It's tired. So to move into a higher existence is to really let go of the lower existence. And we don't know what that is. It sounds like, well, you just go ahead and die. But what is that? Do we truly die in consciousness? That is where we truly live. We have our being, we have our presence, we have our existence. So when the body is suffering, it's suffering the world around it. It is tortured with all of the stuff that's happening in this existence. And so to rise above that as best we can, and loving the body, nurturing it, caring for it, listening to it when it needs something, but also not to let it be the boss. The body is not the boss of me. The consciousness is the leader, is the high point of existence. So the body must follow along, or else it just suffers. So we stop suffering, we stop resistance, we stop attachments, we stop fear, we stop all of those things, and then we are free. That doesn't mean that you won't have aches and pains, because the world is aches and pains. But as long as we're in the world, we are learning to be not of this world. And for good reason, because the world needs examples of this consciousness in every avenue, every way. So we are a representative of something higher and possible for humanity. Can we get that across? Who knows? But we keep striving to do so, allowing and holding the feeling, knowing that we are possible in this transformation and change, a representative of consciousness and its higher possibilities to those around us, even the body itself.
Shantara says, thanks, Ishvara.
You are welcome, Shantara.
And Johannes, in response to your talk, says, most amazing and absolutely true, knowingly and feelingly. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Anna and Slava say, thank you so much, Ishvara.
You are welcome.
And Todd says, thank you for addressing the questions of mortality and the cell's body as consciousness. Is the body able to accelerate into a higher frequency of physical existence, or is the light body the only thing that can continue on?
That is the million-dollar question, I guess. Can we lift the flesh as consciousness? Or do we leave the flesh behind? Mostly it's left behind because the belief is it can't. But when we change within ourselves, we begin to experience something different. So maybe the cells can be the holder of immortality. We've always seen the only way out of this place is to die. But perhaps is the wrong seeing. Perhaps we should see the only place out of this place is to live as consciousness with no boundaries or limits. I know that sounds fantastic or like a fantasy, but much of my life is spent in the consciousness. I see very little of the mortality. I see more immortality transpiring moment by moment. So I keep watching and observing and allowing to be all that I can be as an example of what humans can be if they let go of the human. That freaks people out, but it's time to let go of the human and becoming immortal in this flesh, in this way, through allowing.
But you've also mentioned once before that the process of transcendence may involve letting go of the shell of the body.
Yeah.
And then somehow maybe the essence of the physical transcends.
Yeah, it's hard to say just what is necessary as a vehicle of transformation. You know, the shell, the body, we don't want to freak it out. We don't want to negate it because it can cause you a lot of problems if you do that. But to embrace it and love it, to say, okay, you know, what do you need? What do you want? But keep pushing it into the direction of light just to see what happens. Because we don't have real living examples of this transformation. So we are like students of consciousness, just seeing where it can go and not try to create any concepts or beliefs around it and not to limit anything, because perhaps the body is becoming the consciousness, all of it. And if it can't, then there's a change that takes place, a transformation that takes place. And we see the shell is no longer necessary. But that remains to be seen. We don't negate anything before we know within ourselves this absolute.
When I was on my morning hike today, I was speaking no words, nobody else around, so it's a safe place to do it up in the hills, and I felt like those no words were sending a pulse into the body, and just pulsing into the very outer reaches of the body. That's what it felt like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the no words have a great purpose. I know very few people maybe realize just what that is, but that was the beginning. I woke up in no words. No words was the first thing I uttered. And I've been uttering them ever since. And I used to could sing them even. I've lost my singing voice pretty much, but Leela says, no, you haven't, but I think I did. I didn't like the sound of my voice anymore when I tried to sing. But I used to sing the no words, but always no words was uplifting and bringing a great understanding and clarity. And they still do that. They've always done that. But they were the first things that this true self spoke in this flesh. Thank you for being with us in this day. Thank you for your love and your support. And may you have great clarity and understanding through this effort to express the inexpressible.